Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate, and this week, birthday party planner / maybe rescheduler.
Oh,
The
no.
weather is crazy.
Yeah. Did I tell you I got a text when we were at Mom Too from my mom said, I hope my Mother's Day brunch isn't planned outside because the weather looks bad. Like I woke
Just
up to that.
FYI.
I know. And I was like, well, it is.
It
And
is.
not only that, it's at our favorite restaurant, which has the most phenomenal food. But when you sit outside, it's like a tent in the parking lot. So even on a good day, it's not very pretty. So yeah, we might be getting takeout. We'll see. And I am Suzanne Kearns, mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate. And this week I am a Mom 2.0 Summit Recoverer. If you could see behind me, and I think we may do a TikTok of it later, the reality of what is behind the camera when we do this podcast.
It's not good today.
It's not good, and it's worse than usual.
Not good today. Well, our guest today is also a Mom 2.0 recoverer. It is Nicole Gonzalez-Cumberbatch, whom we met completely by chance. We already had this interview scheduled, but we were at Mom 2.0 in Scottsdale, Arizona, and out of the corner of my eye, her name tag caught my eye, and I was like, I think that name is really familiar. So then we disrupted an entire keynote session by passing a note back and forth written on a napkin. That is how we met in real life prior to this. Nicole is a mom and former VP of finance and HR, business owner and podcaster, and she believes it takes a village to uplift a mother, and it is essential to a mother's mental health and well-being. Nicole founded the Motherhood Village in 2021, and her mission is to support mothers through community, education, and connection. We love it. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to dive into this. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh, well, we're so excited to have you here and learned a little bit about you in your bio, but can you give a little more in-depth Nicole 101 about where your career started, any big decisions or pivots that have led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, my background is in corporate, kind of crazy. I actually worked at a bank when I was 16. I don't know if they had in the States where you guys live, but in Florida, we had something called like a co-op where you could leave work early when you're in like 11th or 12th grade to go work. So when that opportunity came, I was like, wait a minute, I can leave school early to go make money? Absolutely. So I did that. And first I was working at a grocery store and eventually got recruited to work at a bank at 16. They thought I was older and I was able to work. So I worked there, I think half of my junior year into my senior year. And I say all that because that kind of really was the beginning of me starting to work at 16. And then my career just kind of took off. Started college when I graduated, but college kind of, I went part time for 10 years before I got my degree because I always worked. And as I was going to school, I was building my career basically and started as an accounting assistant. And I'm like, oh, I think I like accounting work and changed my major until finally I graduated with a degree in managerial accounting and had worked my way up from accounting assistant, coordinator, controller to VP of finance and HR. I had worked at an email marketing company where I kind of really grew in that role. And I loved it. I mean, my identity was based on my career. I had always said as a child, I wanted to have a CFO or CEO title in my name. I don't know why. I just thought it was the coolest thing to work in an
That's so
office.
cute.
And I almost, right? VP kind of close.
Yeah.
So my career was everything. And then my son came and just rocked my world for all the things, right? As they do. So that was, my son is 5. So got married 2016, had him 2017. So it's very fast. He came and I suffered all these things I never thought, postpartum anxiety, and I had no clue how to navigate life as a corporate mom. And I thought I would because I figured, well, I've managed people, I've managed teams, I've worked under pressure. I got this. I'm all the things. And I didn't. So to say all that, to say I pivoted in 2021 and completely left corporate to start my own business just because I never found, truthfully, it's sad in a way. After my son was born, I had to leave the employer I worked for at the time because they weren't supporting me. I didn't know how to ask for help. There was no flexibility. I wasn't ready to go back to work after my son was born. And I really went from job to job, which I had never done in my life before that time because I always stayed at companies for long periods. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not happy. I don't know. Like it's just a lot of like questioning a lot of things where do I fit? What do I do? And then, yeah, 2021, I left and I told my husband, listen, I've been at this for a very long time. And I think I'm going to support companies with the background that I have in accounting and HR and operations. So I left to start my own company and I still have that. I support small companies and businesses in doing like back end accounting and all that. And then the Motherhood Village. So that kind of came, I guess I'll say that in high level during the time of my struggle of postpartum anxiety and overwhelm. I started a podcast in 2019 and I just had something to say. Something to say. It was my outlet. I wanted to talk to other mothers. I wanted to talk about the honesty of how we don't hear that your relationship with your partner was going to change. At the
Mhm.
time, like my husband and I thought we did all the right things. We dated all the right things beforehand. And then I couldn't stand him at some points. I remember going to my mom and I'm like, is this normal? Like, I
Yeah.
can't freaking stand him. And I'm like, why aren't we having these conversations? Like, I remember getting scared without
Yeah.
realizing that it really wasn't us. It was my needs weren't being met. I wasn't asking for help. I was overwhelmed. It wasn't necessarily him. So that whole steamrolled into me saying, I want to have conversations. So the podcast started in 2019, 2021, when I left corporate to start my consulting business. I also started the Motherhood Village, and that has just steamrolled. I do support groups for moms now, for career moms in the evening. I do webinars, workshops, a lot of community led events. And now we're here, 2023. I know that was
Oh.
kind of a lot, but it kind of
It's a
try to
lot, but
unpack
we're gonna
it as
break
much
it
as you can.
down now.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes.
will break it down. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, what was your work like during COVID then when you break that apart?
Sure. So I'm glad you asked that. So the company I had worked for, again, you got to remember at this time, I'm like unsure, right? I'm like, listen, my whole career has been wrapped up in me having a title and working my butt off for it. And now I kind of don't care, but do I? We're talking about
Yeah.
money, but I'm like, you know what? All these things, questioning a lot. So the company I had worked for, they kind of dangled a carrot where I was going to be a controller. And I was like, all right, take a step back. But it was for a really big company at the time, locally. And long story short, COVID hit, and the employer told me when I asked for flexibility because my son's daycare closed, she literally said, "So you're choosing your family over my company."
Oh
Uh-huh.
boy.
That was literally, I think, I don't know, whenever the mandate hit, maybe the 20th, my son's school had closed a few days before. It was like literally that Monday or Tuesday. And I tell you all that because that was the mind frame. My son was 2.5 years old. I'm like, lady, yes. I'm like, we're in the middle. We have no idea what this is about.
Yes.
Um,
Oh.
so Florida thankfully had this thing called FMLA where you could take
Mhm.
time off if
Mhm.
you had to care for someone who had COVID or your child's school closed for COVID. So
Mhm.
because I knew that, I said, "You know what? I was gonna stay on and help, but since you wanna do that, I'm taking my FMLA." So I took my FMLA and I got paid to stay home because my son's school closed for the 3 months, and then the minute the mandate was lifted, I basically got laid off, which I knew that that was gonna happen. I would have quit anyway.
Yeah.
But I was very thankful because it was bittersweet. I got to take whatever that was, March to June 1st, I think is his school opened, and I got to really have that time with him. But it was still disheartening and hurtful, right? Like, I'm like, "Wow, like, here we are,"
Yes.
and it was a woman who owned the company, so I was so disappointed. So, yeah, so my COVID experience, I very fortunately got to stay home with him during that time.
That's so interesting because
Yeah.
that's a boundary we hear from a lot of coaches where they say, in any scenario, not just COVID, where people work as if they are the owner of the company. And I
Yes.
feel like
Right.
that is something that I did very badly. And I realize that now back in hindsight, like I did every single status report or presentation as if
Everything.
it was my company,
Yours.
which, is a boundary that all the coaches say, no, no, don't do that, where this boss came out and basically just said, "Yeah, you need to treat this as your company
Just like that. She was
instead
like,
of
"So
your
basically
family."
you're choosing your family over my company." And I remember just saying, they're like, "Is this like Twilight Zone?" And,
Is that a real question you're asking
is
me?
that
Because
allowed? Like,
yeah.
do I call like, who do I call? Like, what?
Yes.
Ethically, like all the things.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of been my career journey since having my child, and it's been very sad because I haven't had the support since having him with any employer to say we
Right.
welcome you, like let's find things. So I'm a big employee advocate, and I do foresee in the future me doing something with corporations to help those small businesses really understand what they need to provide their employees once they have children.
What kinds of resources does the Motherhood Village have now? Because I know employee advocacy is a big piece of what you're doing. Like, what are you seeing are the huge challenges that you're able to help women with at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. Tangible, I guess you can say what the Motherhood Village does, like I said, the support groups. And a lot of that does help because there's a lot of working mothers. Actually, I think they're all working mothers, whether um, they're working full time in their career, but also have a side business or they're women business owners. So a lot of conversations come up with that. And I guess because I do have the experience of number one, being in their shoes and being like, I have no idea where to go. But number two, I have the accounting background to really help them understand the data that they can bring to their employers to say, hey, look, it doesn't really cost a lot of money, but there's certain things that you can do to kind of help me or the other employees and how to advocate for themselves. So I help in that way at the support groups. I also try and partner with some of the experts I have on my podcast or whoever I collaborate with that I find, in my own entrepreneurial journey to do webinars and workshops for moms. So tangibly, like I said, the Motherhood Village provides resources in that way. But as far as employee specific, that is something I want to have a goal to do in the foreseeable future, like actually have workshops myself that I put together to go into these small businesses. I think it's important to start at the beginning with small businesses because
Mhm.
as I'm sure we all attest, whether it's our podcast or whatever things we have that we're trying to grow, it's easy to get caught up in that we don't follow the processes that we put in order. We don't do all the things. So I really want to help business owners at the beginning stages of saying, well, let's start putting these processes in place now. Let's not overcomplicate it. So as you start to bring employees in, we can manage it affordably, but employees will then want to work for you, which will help sustain the growth of your company. Right.
Mm,
So that's what I
Right.
hope to do in the future.
what an awesome resource because, yeah, there's a
Thank you.
lot of small businesses. Oh, did I tell you once upon the time I had a blog called Not So Secret Shopper where I wanted to go in just to
No.
these small businesses because I come from a marketing and advertising background and it was little things, but just like start your Facebook page for your business or,
Yeah.
do if you're a restaurant, just, it's
Yes.
fine. You don't want to do this fancy thing, but just at least have your menu up on a web page with a phone number or something. But
Yes.
Right.
but
Something
basically
I
be the
know.
secret shopper to go into these stores, and then I would do a little write-up about, like, here's one thing you could do today to,
That's awesome.
to take your business to the next step or, just to give a little bit of movement. I just think it's such an amazing service for these small businesses because
Yep.
they don't necessarily have that know-how or the resources, and sometimes just that little nudge in the right direction,
Or
can
they
be
don't know
really
that they
helpful.
need it, right?
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss. So sometimes we just need someone to say, "Hey, you're gonna have employees. Have you thought about what that looks like for them?" Because I truly believe our workforce is everything. I 100% believe that. And, it tops customer service and everything because if you take care of your employees, they will automatically have the good customer service. They'll treat it, as you said, Suzanne, as if it's their own company, right?
Yes.
They'll put their heart, they'll put their soul, put all the things. So, that's another thing I'm passionate about. But right now, it's really helping moms with the
Yay!
motherhood village. But I think it's something that it's all connected, right? Because it all started because I was a working mother that didn't
Yes.
have the resources that I needed at the time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
well, speaking of blending your love for helping mothers and then also helping these businesses is helping them think about maternity leave and
Yes.
also Motherhood Village supporting moms who are
Mhm.
hoping to go back to work, but taking some time for this maternity leave. So what
Yeah.
does that support look like? What are you hearing from group members about what their ideal, leave period is? Like back when we left, it was you got your 3 months. I think I was
Right.
really lucky. I
If
got
that.
4 months, but
You
Wow.
were lucky.
yeah. But author of the fifth trimester would argue that you need 6 months. So yeah, what is that looking like these days?
100%. I agree. I think most women are saying 6 months. A lot of the support groups I have, not only are they working mothers, but a lot of them they were either pregnant and now they're coming with their newborns to the groups, which have been awesome to see. But yeah, they're like, I have to go back to work. I'm scared. I'm nervous, I'm
Mhm.
overwhelmed, or they have had time to spend with their little ones, let's say the first, second year, and now they're like, I have to look at preschools. Where am I going to send my kid? Think of what's
Mhm.
going on in the world. Are they going to be safe? I'm overwhelmed. So a lot of it is fear. A lot of it is overwhelm. A lot of it is sadness and the need for support. And absolutely, we have talked that I think a good time frame is that 6 months to even a year. I think Canada gives a year. And
Mhm.
I think it's a program you can even opt in, which in my mind, I'm like, what mother would not want to opt in? But you know what? Anyone listening? Maybe. I know for me, there was a time where I was like, I needed to go back to work, right? Like
Yeah,
that.
I
oh
hear
yeah.
I
that a
needed,
lot.
yeah.
Mhm.
But at least the option is there. So yes, 6 months to a year has come up. But as far as how they're feeling, it's the sadness, it's the fear, the unknown, the uncertainty. How are they going to be able to navigate it once they do go back to work? And then the school aspect, making sure they're making the right decision. What's a good school? What's not a good school? The safety
Oh,
issue. There's just so
yes.
much that I think a lot of parents this day and age have to deal with. And as many resources as they can have, the better.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what are
so the
you
support
Oh, I'm
groups
sorry.
oh, sorry.
I'm so into this. Okay, go ahead,
I know.
Missy.
Well, the support groups, do they meet virtually, in person? Do they have the
In
option to do
person.
both? Are they calling and texting each other in the middle of the night? Like, how is it set up? How does it
Love
work?
that. So it is in person. It's in person and in the evening, very strategically curated that way. Because again, corporate mom couldn't make the mommy meetups, couldn't make any of the support groups during the day, which in hindsight,
It's
maybe I
true.
could have, but I never asked because I was afraid, right? The same thing. I wanted to
Right.
work first one in, last one out, but then I have to make up the time, but I want to go back home to my son, all the things. So I always had said if I did a group, I'd want to make sure it was in the evening so that working moms could go. And we do meet in person. I have thought about doing it virtually or doing maybe a virtual option just because I've had moms reach out from other cities. And like my husband and I talk, he's like, what are you
Right.
going to have a support group like every night? Like, what are you going to be traveling? Like,
Maybe.
and I'm like, no, I know I can't support all the moms. So I'm working on some things of how to like, let's say get someone from an hour away that a mom reached out to me and she was like, hey, I need support, but I'm in Palm Beach, which is about an hour away from me. Right. So to get something like that, I'm like, oh, I want to be like, absolutely. But then I have to think about my own boundaries and what my capacity is. So thoughts are there. But to answer your question, yes, it's in the evening and it's in person. And then we have a private Facebook group where moms can connect. So if you have been to a support group, you automatically get in. I didn't want to just open it up to anybody. It's the moms who like
Mhm.
we've already shared and where we have open and safe conversations. So then they meet there and it's cool. They're like, "Hey, I need this," or "Hey, I have extra diapers," or "Hey, does someone have this?" And then that's where they can kind of share and come together.
That's
Love
really
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I wish everybody could have it everywhere.
I
I've got to think
know.
that there are similar groups in a lot of different cities,
Right.
probably bigger cities. I think that'll be a good thing to ask our group as well, our private Facebook group, what they
Yeah,
have
there you
in their
go.
community in case some moms, don't know that it's available. Because that's the other thing when you're so buried with a newborn and are already overwhelmed, it's hard to do that research. So
Yes.
we'll try to pull some of those for people as
And that's a
well.
good point, right? I think we're actually inundated with too much research that we're like, wait, okay, wait, there's this and this. Tell me where I need to
Mhm.
go and what I need to do. Like that's what I need right now. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that because I think yeah, sometimes moms just need kind of their handheld to say, you're gonna come here and this is what you have for you for
Yes,
available.
exactly. And for
Right.
in those group meetings themselves, what are you hearing then when they do go back to work are some of the biggest challenges? I was just telling Missy, I think what did me in when I went back after my maternity leave, my husband did 3 months of paternity leave so I could go back to work and see how
Mm,
that felt. And the hardest part was the client that I was working for. My office, where I was based out of, had this really nice mother's room, with a little
yeah.
refrigerator and a comfy sofa and everything. But when I was on site at my client's office, which was very often, I would have to pump in a bathroom where there was no even power cord. And then
Yes.
throughout the
And so
day, I
gross,
would
right?
have
Pumping in
I
the
know.
bathroom is the
It's
worst.
disgusting. I know. Yes,
pumpings.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that part's gross. But then the rest of the day, I have to carry around this refrigerator pack
Mhm.
full of everything that's come out of me. And then, so between that and my
Sit
work
down for this
stuff
meeting with
and
my
the
boob
pump,
juice.
oh my gosh. And it was kind of ridiculous. So, I mean,
Mhm.
talk about the weight of motherhood. This was literally the weight of
Yes.
motherhood.
Yes, yes.
But it was also like, how are people perceiving me? I didn't feel
100%.
professional.
Yes.
And I really feel like that's kind of one of the things that did me in. Like, this can't be the next 6 months of my life. And
All
I know
right.
you can definitely move to formula, but it was just
There's
like,
options, right,
yeah,
yeah.
that's just where my mind was at that time.
Mhm.
Just like, this is what my day is going to be like every day.
Yeah.
And it was tough. So, is that still an issue, or more offices accommodating moms, or is that still the regular day to day?
Well, to just piggyback just slightly on that point, I think, yeah, there's options, but I think parents need the support because if you do choose to
Right.
breastfeed, it shouldn't be that hard. I remember
Mhm.
having to go, I worked at FAU at the time, and they were great to work for. They really were during that transition when I was like, okay, what am I going to go? And that actually was my alma mater. And I worked in the accounting department of the sports athletics department. Anyway, I had to go 3 times during the day to my supervisor's office, knock on the door so I can pump. You want to talk about embarrassed? Because I know she had to be like, sure. And I can see her being like, geez, Louise, like,
Yeah, I'm gonna
really? I'm like,
clear
I
out of
am
my
so
office.
sorry. But just to the point is like, yeah, I think the resources are there so that moms can then, if you want to breastfeed, breastfeed, pump, pump. If you want formula, do it. But let us have the resources there, right? So that's just that. But yes, so it's still going on. Parents are still asking for the resources. I do think, again, some of these, I think millennial moms, we're having more of these conversations. I see it on LinkedIn. There's companies like Mamava. I don't know if you've heard, they do the breastfeeding pods. They have them
Oh,
in
we just saw that
airports.
at the airport when we
Yep.
were in
Yes.
Phoenix. Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I know Sasha, who's one of the co-founders. She was a guest on my podcast. I'd love to connect you
Oh, I
with
would
her.
love
Maybe she could be a
that.
guest.
Yes.
Because their thought process behind it, and I'm like, this is not a paid like endorsement or anything, but I just love what they're doing because you
Mhm.
Right.
see the pods everywhere, and it's not just for airports. They started there,
Right.
but they want to go for offices and museums, any place where a mom can go and not just to breastfeed, but to feed their child, like you said, not in a freaking bathroom.
Right.
Mhm.
So there are resources and things that are being developed, but I think these smaller private companies are where again we need to hit because if you're a larger company, you have the money to let's say get a pod like Mamava, and I don't know what they cost to let's say store or
Right.
implement. But if you're a small company just starting out or you have 5 to 10 employees, you're a small business, I think that's where we really need to have more of these discussions. So a lot of the moms, yes, that don't have that support, similar to me and the other companies I worked for. So yeah, the same kind of conversations. It's, to pump. God forbid you forget an item, right? That had happened to me. I remember having to call my husband and said, I forgot I think the flange it's called or whatever the thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like, I
no.
forgot it. And then you're devastated, right? And then if they don't come
Right.
in time, and
Yes.
then like my boobs are so swollen, and these are conversations we don't have, but for the moms listening, like it's normal if you're a new mom. So there were things I had to do, right? Make a checklist. So we talk about these in the groups. Try and make a checklist for yourself because it can be overwhelming because you're scattered and maybe you only had 2 hours of sleep the night before and then you got to pack your bag. So we talk a lot, unfortunately, about the things we have to do in preparation because
Right.
still the support isn't always there. So I guess to summarize it, seeing the support in the larger corporations, seeing it on LinkedIn, seeing it with some companies coming out. I know there's apparently, I think there's a lot of companies that are
Mhm.
very for working parents. Those are
Yeah.
the ones that I think more than anything that impact the employees the most.
Yeah, you talking about the
Yeah.
missing part. I'm just picturing there's a little white
Oh, I
plastic
remember that.
flap thing that
Yep.
without that, like
Without that,
That's
it
it. You're
doesn't
done.
work.
0.05 cent piece of plastic. But then I just
Right.
had a flashback. I had a hand pump.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
like
I remember
uh
the hand pump.
oh,
Yes.
like
Oh my
one that you would,
God.
it's almost like
Yep.
the nozzle that you water the grass with, but it just goes
Yep.
on the bottle. So yeah, that was my emergency backup. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
other thing.
But
You have to have
I
a backup for your
can
backup.
like,
Backup for
I will
backup.
never forget that feeling of like, you have to do this and you've got to get it done. And this is just life right now. But the just immense like stress
Yes.
and there's shame attached to it that should not be attached to it. We have,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go in normalizing the fact that this is how we feed our children. And I can remember having that hand pump and just being mad, like
Yes.
Yes.
pumping and like nothing's coming. And like,
Well,
Yes.
and especially if you
Yes.
have to leave a meeting. I mean, just
yes.
and
Ah,
yeah, getting away
I
from
know.
that.
What about leaking? What
Anyway.
about
Oh
leaking? If
Oh
Lord,
you
my
yes,
leak,
that.
God.
I know. And we should be
Yeah.
able to comfortably say, like you said, to alleviate the shame, say, you know what? I need to pump. I'll be right back. Instead of being
Yeah.
like,
Right.
can I pump? It's like,
Yeah.
no, this
It's
is
not
normal
like
people.
I've gotta
Like,
go do a hit a blow. Like, you're going to do something is that what it's called? Do you
I
hit
don't
blow?
Yes.
I
know.
don't know.
But to your
You're
point,
so
yeah,
hip,
it's so
Missy.
funny. Yeah.
I'm
But
gonna go
you're not
snort
doing
the
something
reefer. What am
Snort
I gonna
or maybe snort. I
say?
don't know. Whatever. But to
It's
your
not
point,
what you're
exactly.
going to do. You're going to feed your child.
And I actually think people would be maybe even more apt to say that. Let's be
Yeah.
And
real
I think
here.
that really leads into the mental health. So
Yes.
you're
Oh, big.
coping with
Yes.
so much and if you don't have a place to talk to someone about it, you don't know if it's normal. You don't know that other women are going through it. You don't like your husband and you don't know why, and you're ashamed that you have to pump and whatever it is. So, how is the Motherhood Village tackling this? And are you also tackling it in your podcast?
Yes, very good question. So yes and yes. So podcast is actually where it started from. Having these conversations, talking to a lot of licensed mental health counselors, and I'm sure you ladies can attest to this. I heard Oprah say it that she said she gained so much value when she was a host on her show because she was like, I know not everybody saw an episode, but I was in every episode, so she got
Mm,
the value from every guest. And I was like, I totally feel that way about my
I do.
podcast.
yes.
It's been such beneficial in my parenting journey in raising my
Mhm.
son. I've had it for almost 4 years, so since he's a little around 1 or 2, a lot of licensed mental health counselors and each one having a different way. I mean, I've learned all the terms. Oh, there's aware parenting, there's conscious parenting, there's peaceful parenting, all the
Mhm.
things. So yeah, so we tackle a lot of it on my show. A lot of what the Motherhood Village is based on in totality through the community education and connection is for the mental health and wellness of a family. I tell everyone, moms are the nucleus, and if mom's good, everyone is good. Mom's not good, we can take care of the kids, we can do all these fun stuff for the kids, but if mom is still overwhelmed, or to your point, Missy, just suffering in silence and feeling isolated, then it doesn't freaking matter.
No.
So that's really why this was created. And then yes, and then I tackle it in my support group. So sometimes I lead the group. I think because I have had a lot of knowledge, I'm not a mental health counselor. But a lot of times, truthfully, women will say something, I'm like, and it'll take me to a podcast guest of someone that I hadn't talked to. So
Mhm.
I'll be able to say, listen, I talked to someone and they mentioned this. But I do also bring in licensed mental health counselors that are local in the community that lead the groups. I try and really
So
foster that
important.
connection so that if moms don't know the resources that are available to them, when they do come to my events, there's either some kind of connection happen. Either a speaker is there, a licensed mental health counselor is there, and yeah, so those are probably the 2 biggest ways that I tackle that with specifically within the Motherhood Village.
Yeah.
We say it all the time that we have all the answers to the problems of the universe within our past episodes. And we're like, we just need
Yes.
to actually do the things they told us to do.
Well, that's the hardest part about motherhood, right? We know how to do it, but when we're
Right.
overwhelmed, when we're
Mhm.
tackling all the things, then we can't regulate ourselves, right? All these terms that we know, but it's hard to implement them all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what are the struggles that you're hearing from people in your group?
I think a lot of it is letting go of the mom guilt. It's a big one
Hmm.
that comes up, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of moms will question or they'll see me. I'm very, very clear on my Instagram, on my stories of letting moms know, look, I know it looks like I'm all over the place. I know it looks like I'm connected and I'm here and I'm there. I'm like, but don't get it twisted. My house is a mess. My laundry is whatever. I haven't cleaned. I have someone that helps me clean. My husband had to do the food shopping. I have not cooked. Like, let's be honest here, right? I'm very clear at that because I never want someone to feel less than. But a lot of it is the mom guilt. Like, how are you doing this and not feeling bad? Or how did you go to Arizona for Mom 2.0 and could
Mm,
get away, you know?
Yeah.
So mom guilt comes up a lot. Obviously, the self-care. I do not like to use the word self-care. What I ask my guests actually on every podcast and in various conversations is what do you do to release? What do you do to reset? And what do you do to recharge? I think when we
Mhm.
think of it that way, we're a little bit more intentional about the things that we're doing as opposed to saying just self-care.
mhm.
So that's a big one.
I like that.
So
Say it
yeah, the
again. Say that
release.
again.
What do you do to
Release.
release? What do you do to reset? And what do you do to recharge? And that's actually the theme of my summit this year. So I do a summit at towards the end of the year, heading into the fourth quarter. Think of it like a business conference that you would go to for companies or for your corporate career. And I do something similar for moms, and it's just a day to empower moms. But yeah, so the really big things are the mom guilt and what to do for self care. Like I can't take care of myself, or I don't have the time, or I don't have this. A lot of it is
Right.
I'm doing for everyone, but I don't know how to do for myself. That
Mhm.
comes up a lot. We have a lot of conversations about that.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it's like a vicious cycle because then you do for yourself and then you feel a little guilty about doing for yourself.
100%.
And then so you have to like unlearn all of that and
Yes,
figure out how to manage
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
for
And
sure.
you mentioned your summit. That's perfect timing. We were just
Mhm.
going to
Oh,
ask you all about the upcoming summit and,
yes.
where it is, if there's slots still available. Oh, can you tell us all about it?
I'm so excited because I'm working with someone to help me because I'm sure, and maybe you both can attest, it's a very mission driven company with the Motherhood Village. So I never like to promote or say things. And she's like, if you don't talk about the summit, how do you get people to come? I'm like, no, I know, but I just. So I'm glad because it's helping me kind of to speak on it. But yeah, so the first one was last year in October. It was a wonderful day. This year it's in September. It's September 30th. It's in beautiful Pompano Beach in South Florida. It's at the Home 2 Suites, True by Hilton, with the very famous, I guess you can say in Pompano Beach, rooftop bar.
Oh.
So the first half of the day, it's beautiful. It's overlooking the ocean. The first half of the day, I have keynote speakers, panel discussions. This year, we're actually doing a panel discussion on communication strategies. I took it from my own personal experience. I was dealing with a client and I was like, "Why are you having such a hard time having this conversation with them?" And I'm like, "You're gonna be 40 years old, like, get it together." And it trickled down to, like, how do I teach my son how to advocate for himself? How do I teach my son if I can't have some of these hard conversations? So,
Mhm.
we're gonna have a great panel discussion with a lawyer, general manager of the Coral Square Mall, and a licensed mental health counselor to tackle just that, communication strategies. Keynote speaker, I'm going to be interviewing NBC6 news anchor Shelly Munish. We're going to talk about her being a new mom and how she balances being a new mom, but also dealing in the public eye, right? That's a big one. We have a
Mhm.
financial wellness workshop. And then that's all done, which is a big one, we have a lunch and all that. We'll have some breakout sessions. We head to the rooftop bar for the happy hour, where we will have some vendors up there that are usually owned by moms, mom owned businesses, and we have mimosas and massages. And that kind of ends the day. And yeah, so it's September 30th. And if you do live in South Florida, I would love to see you there. If you go to themotherhoodvillage.com and you subscribe to my newsletter, you will get a discount code that is for any ticket. And we have me, myself, and I ticket to go solo. We have a bestie bundle where you can get, bring your girlfriend. And then we have a girls' day out bundle for yourself. And then, of course, we also have vendor table opportunities if you wanted to reserve a table for your organization, for your employees, for your clients, for your family. And I think that's it. So, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
I know.
know.
lot. That's a
It's pretty
lot.
incredible.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's
We keep half
amazing.
joking, half toying with really doing some sort of mom and summit conference,
Yes.
If
and
you
it's
have
so
any
much work.
It is, but if I can listen, I did the first one last year in like 3 or 4 months. I don't ever, ever, ever recommend doing that. I was mentally spent. When I tell you I
I
had never
bet.
felt like anything like that in my life. The minute it was over, I got sick. I actually
Yeah.
Yeah.
got physically sick because I
Mhm.
was holding so much. But if you want to talk offline, if you have that idea, I have no problem sharing you some tips and strategies. It's hard work. It is very hard work. The minute I put the idea together, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And then I was like, oh shit, I have to invite people. Who the heck is gonna
To
come
do
to this
it.
thing? I have
Yeah.
to actually like set I'm like, oh, right.
Yep.
Which can be very overwhelming, but
Mhm.
I'm learning the ins and outs of really how to do it. So if you have ideas, I'd be more than happy to share. And if you want to come to South Florida. Hey,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so generous. Thank you.
yes, yes.
And yeah, I know that everybody listening is probably like, "Oh, I wish I was in South Florida to have
I
these
know.
resources to be able to
Some of
have
them are,
access to
though.
the
I
summit."
know that
Yes,
some of
some of
them
them
are.
are.
Oh, they have
So,
to be there. Yes.
yes. So I know, yeah, we have a lot of listeners all over the country. Oh, actually all over the
Mhm.
world, which is
Yeah,
it's just
global.
kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully they will make sure that they have access in the show notes and links to the information about the summit and for you. But then I also am calling on all listeners and in our Facebook group to, yeah, let's pull together some of the resources in our local communities outside of Florida
Correct.
as well, because
Love it.
busy moms don't have the time to research that. Let's see if we can pull
Oh,
some stuff together to help them
busy
have
moms, and
access
then,
to it.
like you said, tired moms don't have time to process it
Mm,
sometimes.
no.
Just
Yeah.
want someone to go, "Here."
Here,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
with me. We're going to this thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
But speaking of links to all the places to find you, where are
Yeah.
the best places to find you online?
Yes. So motherhoodvillage.com, very easy. There is also a section to listen to my podcast, or you can go Spotify, iTunes, all the things. Also under the name The Motherhood Village. Instagram, The Motherhood Village one. Unfortunately, the Motherhood Village handle was already taken. And I'm like, they don't even
We
post
know that
anything.
story,
Everyone keeps
but
Oh,
we
telling
have
me
the
to like
same
reach
thing.
out, but I'm like, ah. But it's the
Mhm.
Motherhood Village one, Nicole Cumberbatch. It should come up. And then I'm on TikTok, Facebook, also under the Motherhood Village. And I like to connect on LinkedIn. So please, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, it's Nicole Cumberbatch. And you could also email the motherhoodvillage1 at gmail.com if you have any questions. If you do have any questions about resources that I can connect you with, because my guests are also global, right? So,
mhm.
or not just in Florida. So if anyone has any questions about who to connect them with, I'd be more than happy to share that as well.
So,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, so
Yes.
generous.
And okay, I hate that we're here. It always goes so fast, but it
I
is about time for Look, Listen, Learns. And so for any of our new listeners, we're really glad you're here. Welcome. And at the end of every show, we spend a few minutes just talking about things we're watching, learning, reading, buying, whatever it is. Sometimes they're really ridiculous, sometimes they're really serious. It's just kind of whatever is on your mind right now. And we don't like to put our guest in the hot seat. So, Suzanne, you get to tell us your Look, Listen, Learns first this week.
All right. Let's see. What am I looking at? I feel like I have done this look before, but it has come full circle. No pun intended. I'm talking
Okay.
about Wheel of Fortune.
Oh.
But
I
last
don't think
we
you've done this look, have you?
oh, I may have already just talked about it too much within the family. I don't know. We watch it. We were watching Jeopardy for a long time, and I think
Yeah.
maybe we all started feeling a little dumb because like
Oh.
we like to do Celebrity
Yeah.
Jeopardy and then like the college student Jeopardy because it makes
Yeah,
us
kill
feel a
it at
little
college
smarter.
Jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah, we ran out of those. So then we went to Wheel of Fortune, which which I had to explain to the kids when it came back again last night's episode. They had a little, it's huge. It's like a life-size ceramic Dalmatian. And so anybody who's as old as I am and has watched Wheel of Fortune since the 70s knows that the Dalmatian was like the last item that people would always buy because when you would win money in each round,
Yep.
instead of taking that money with you, you had to
I
go
had to spend it.
shopping
Mhm.
at a little wedge of this circle store in the middle
Uh-huh.
of the Wheel of Fortune
Oh, I always
set.
wanted to do it so badly.
Yeah, there was like
Just
the Toblerone bar and then whatever money you
there'd
had
be
left
stuff like
over.
furniture, there'd be all kinds of crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
it depended. Each little wedge had a different theme.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then there was always this ceramic Dalmatian that, when you were down to your last couple $100, and then you would take the rest on a Van Cleef and Arpels gift certificate. Do you remember that? Anyway, they've so changed the format
They really
that
have. The shopping was really fun.
the shopping was fun. And then I was looking up some images of it this morning. This is why my hair's wet because I was looking up these images where it was kind of like your grade school photos that would have like a face on picture of you, but then like it had like a little heavenly edging to it around
Oh, uh-huh,
a
uh-huh.
side portrait of you kind of floating off there on the side of the picture.
Yes,
And so,
yes.
yeah, it would just be like this little angel person floating around the set as they went and looked at the items, like, I'll take that sofa for $2,000.
Oh
And
my gosh.
but yes, so we've been looking at Wheel of Fortune and trying to explain. There are on YouTube and various places where you can actually go watch some of the classic.
Oh.
I swear, I think people took like a camcorder and videotaped their TV on most of them. It is not high quality production, but you get the idea. So
Yeah.
I've been looking at that, listening. Oh, I am just starting lessons in chemistry. I'm so excited. That's been one of Missy's Look, Listen,
Yeah.
Learns. Oh, you thumbs up
Love
too.
that book.
Awesome.
Okay.
And I'm just taking control of my own destiny because my book club did not pick the book that I wanted, and Lessons in Chemistry was in second place. So I'm reading it anyway.
Oh, yeah,
What
it's so
won
good.
first place?
What was first place? Oh, shoot. It was the one I just did a look, listen. Starts with a B. Here, I'm going to pull
Bunny?
it up. No, Burnham Wood?
Oh,
Yeah,
Burnham Wood.
Burnham Wood. Which again, I did not give rave reviews, but I just saw like 500 more awards for it recently in an article.
What is it
People
called?
are raving.
Burnham Wood.
Oh.
Oh,
Is it fiction?
Oh, dang it. I just
Nonfiction?
started it playing. It is fiction, and it
Mhm.
is a story of it's this like environmental group, but they're kind of not rogue. They're very grassroots in the sense that they will just go take land that people are not using, like behind abandoned shops or, or people's great big yards where they don't look in the back, and they'll plant things and then they'll sell the produce or whatever. And then
Love
it just it gets really, really bizarre from there. It starts off high and then it's like, what happened? But it gets lots and lots of awards. So do not listen to me. As we have been discovering over the past 2 months of my book reviews, I think I just have low class taste in books. So
No, and I keep telling you, it's not low class. You just like what you like.
I like what I like, and what I like does not win awards.
Because I mean, the National Book Award, often I'll try to read them and I'm like, it's not for me. Not that it's
No,
not a good book, but it's not what I want. So
I
yeah, no
know.
shame. You read what
No.
you want.
Yes. And then let's see. My brain is just full. Everything in Mom too. So I can't even. I mean, there's like SEO,
Yes,
ChatGPT, all the things.
I
But my
know.
biggest learn is that the Camelback, where were we? Camelback Spa,
Camelback Inn and Resort. Yeah,
Camelback
the
Inn and
spa.
Resort Spa. If you go get a pedicure there, they do it in this massage chair, which I've never spent any time in. And my niece asked for one for Christmas a few years ago, and I was like,
She
"That's
asked for
silly."
a massage chair.
Oh, no, she's so smart. She's so smart, and I support her dream for the massage
Because
chair now.
she's
It was
little, right?
life-changing. Yeah, she's little. I don't
Yeah,
even know how she
yeah.
fits in there. All the little nubbies were probably going to the wrong places. But, oh my god. I mean, it was almost forceful and dangerous, and for a minute, I was worried it was gonna knock a vertebrae out of place, but it was so good, and I had had a headache for a week leading up to that, gone. Get the
Wow.
pedicure because you get the built-in massage with it. Love it. The lady next to me did not have hers turned on, and I almost got up out of my seat and went and booped the remote for her. It's like, you do not know
But your
what you're
toes were
missing.
wet, so you couldn't.
I could not.
No.
I was too in bliss. I mean, I seriously like had my eyes closed. I was just like so in bliss. So
That's
that
awesome.
That's
that
awesome.
was my biggest learn. That wasn't my biggest learn of Mom 2.0, but that was
Hope
just a
not.
bonus learn.
Love it.
What about you, Nicole?
So my look, I just finished Firefly Lane, the final
It's on
season.
my list. Yeah.
Oh,
Have you watched it at all, or you
I've
getting into the?
watched it up to this last part that they just
I binge
released.
watched it, and I don't have time to watch TV as often as I would like. It really truly is like I finally learned the guilty pleasure of what that means. Give me
It's
some
so
ice
great.
cream, and there's some every so often where I can go without watching TV for a couple weeks, and then it just hits me, and I'm like, "Give me ice cream." I look at my husband, leave me alone, and I can watch TV for like 4, 5 hours straight.
That's
So
kind of what
Firefly
I want to
Lane.
do on Mother's Day.
Oh, I
That's
told my
kind of what I want to do.
yes, 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 yes. So yeah, Firefly Lane was awesome. I cried and cried and cried and
That's what I've
cried.
heard.
My mom is now watching it. She was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know about the show. Brilliant show. Love it." I also read the book and I loved how it was so different. I don't know if you did both or if you read the book as
Hmm.
well. But yeah, so that was my look. My listen, well, actually my look is that. And what would be the book under? The book also look? Because I read it.
Yeah,
Was that
it
a
can. Yeah,
listen?
whatever.
Yeah.
We play pretty fast and loose with where
Okay.
things fit,
Yeah, yeah.
wherever you want them to fit.
Lessons in Chemistry was great. I actually just finished it last night. I actually binge
Oh,
watched. I wanted to finish it because I was getting to the good part. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Actually didn't know what to expect. So that. And then I guess a listen. I was listening to some of your podcast episodes and other women's that I kind of met at Mom 2.0. So that's been pretty cool to kind of, see like different people's like podcasts and
yeah.
stuff.
hmm
And then as far as learn, yeah, from Mom 2.0, I would say that was a big one as far as learning. I think what it solidified for me, I wish I would have done the spa, so I'm very jealous because I didn't realize till afterwards where we were going. I think it was like again, like the overwhelm. We're going here,
Yes.
put it to the side. And then literally it wasn't until a week before I'm like, oh shoot, like I should probably think about what we're gonna do. And when I went to the app for the hotel, I'm like, they have a spa? Like, why
Oh,
didn't I book a
yes.
spa service? So I was very disappointed I didn't make it, but I'm glad that you got to do it. But
Yes.
I would say learning is just I met so many incredible people that what I learned is that it's solidifying that I'm on the right path that I'm on. There was a lot of things that I was like, huh, I guess I'm not crazy. And there were things that I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm kind of doing that in that way. And then, of course, of how to implement some of the things that maybe I didn't know that helped me, of like seeing different ways. But
Hmm.
truthfully, it really solidified that I'm kind of on the right path and this is really what I'm meant to do. And yeah, and I learned a lot from the keynotes, Austin Channing Brown with the From Scratch ladies. Like
Oh,
they
so
just did a
good.
phenomenal job with the speakers that they had. And I read the book and watched them and
Oh,
watched the
you
show.
did.
So yes, yes, yes. Like I highly recommend both. The book is more about the grieving, and I feel like the show is more about the love story. So it was great to
Mm-hmm.
have the two contrasting views.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to the author about that, and she said, "Yes, that's exactly right. The book is more her grieving; it's her memoir, right? Um,
Right.
but the show is really about the love story that they had. So, yeah, highly recommend that.
We will put all the links to all of those things and yeah, we need to do a big wrap up of all the keynotes and
Oh,
things that we learned
Oh my
because
gosh. I know. I
there's so
usually do a
much.
recap after each Mom too, kind of as a service to readers, but mostly just to sometimes it helps just to cement it in your brain because there
oh,
is
Hmm.
so
God,
much
yes,
so fast that it's good to
yes.
review it.
Yeah, so much.
All right. And then
All
I
right.
think Missy, what have you been listen, learning?
Okay, let's see. Well, as usual, I'm on the cutting edge of what's on the television. I we just started watching a show that's 5 seasons in, and it's actually still on TV, and it's on network TV, but it's called A Million Little Things, and we're watching it on Hulu because we're 5 seasons behind. But it's the story of a friend group, and this is not a spoiler. In the first episode, one of the members of the friend group commits suicide, and it's trying to figure this out, the unraveling of their group, the coming back together. And I mean, we're only in season 1. I have no idea where it's all going to go. But it's pretty well acted, and Mark likes it. That doesn't happen very often, that anything with a drama, little bit of drama to it, it's not usually his thing. So we've been watching that together, and it'll take us probably 5 years to catch up because we watch half an episode to one episode every couple nights. It's going to take a while. But I was looking forward. We haven't watched one since I've been home from the conference, but at the conference at one point, I was like, oh, I kind of can't wait to go home and watch my show with Mark. And then I'm listening to Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting by Clara Pooley. I listened to it on the way there and back on the plane. And it's an adorable story. I am not quite finished, so I don't know how it ends, but a story of a woman who is finding that people think she's past her prime. I could not love that more. She's a little older than we are, but she's fine. You know, at work, people are like, oh, we need the millennial point of view, not your point of view. And then it's the story of the people on her train that she commutes with and how they become intertwined and help each other.
I
It's
love
really
that.
cute. And since I'm listening to it, it's read in a delightful British accent, and I really enjoy it. But I found I couldn't speed it up too much because I was like, wait, what?
Oh,
What was
yeah.
that word?
I
So I
need to
have to keep it.
Yes, I need to
Yeah.
slow down the British accents. I need to slow
Yeah.
down Downton Abbey. I need to slow down pretty much any movie with British accents. I'm like, I know you're speaking English, but I still don't get it.
Yeah. I always speed up my audiobooks. And this one, in fact, last night I was listening at bedtime and I was like, oh, nope, nope, nope. We got to go down to regular speed because I am too tired to process these words.
Oh
So
gosh.
in my learn, also Mom 2.0 learn, my brain is full and just exploding. But I think my favorite thing I learned about was Substacks. And I've been reading some Substacks for a while. And I didn't really understand the difference between that and a newsletter. They're sort of like a newsletter and a blog got married and had a baby. And so I've been on and playing around. And I think Suzanne and I each need to start our own. And then maybe one for the podcast, or maybe we just use our own to kind of tie back. I don't know.
Did I tell you that I had started my own?
Yes. And Suzanne actually already had her name.
Nice.
I went to go make sure that my Substack for my name was reserved. And I was like, wait a minute. And I follow like 20 people. And I don't know when I did this. When did Substack
That's so
start?
funny.
It's been around a while. I mean, a couple years for sure, maybe longer.
I could have been a
Um,
trailblazer, and I
Yeah.
didn't.
I know.
I don't know.
There are
I
some
get
really
confused.
wonderful ones out there. Whatever you're interested in, you can find that little niche out on Substack. And it really is all about writers and creators getting paid for what they're putting out there. And it's a different kind of algorithm than what exists for, say, Facebook or Instagram. It's being driven by the people inside Substack. The users are driving, and you do subscribe to some of it, some parts of it. You can have, when you set one up, yours can be free, or you can have a paid portion, or it can all be paid. There's different amounts and different levels, and it's really modular, and you can kind of mix it up and do what works for you and your community, and you can change it as you go along. So I really love that it's flexible and modular and creator focused.
Yes.
So
I
think there's
love
a
that
lot.
it allows people who want to write but don't necessarily know how to do a website to actually have a voice. Because, I mean,
Yes.
there are a lot of fairly simple websites out there, but they still take some time and they take the hosting money and they take the this,
Right.
and you have to update all the pieces of it. So if someone is out there and it's just like, oh, I wish I, could do a blog or whatever, but I don't want to do the tech part of it, now you can. I do think
Yes.
that's a lovely part of it.
It is. It's a really simple platform with really complex abilities, I guess. So I liked it a lot, and I've been playing with it. And as we've all mentioned, our brains are fried. So I don't think I'm going to make a lot of progress on it until maybe this weekend or early next week. But I have really enjoyed it.
I
Very
know.
cool.
Oh,
So that's
I'm
it.
Yes, we
There
have
we are.
looked, listened, and learned.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, and when I know, I'm glad we're all in the same place because if we had been meeting with a guest today that was not at Mom 2 and did not understand why our brains are just like still kind of like, what are we
It
doing?
was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Yes.
It was
And
meant to
I
be.
thank goodness for Missy's sharp eyes and looking at name tags of the people sitting next to her. Or else, can you imagine if we started this conversation and we were like, oh, yeah, we just got back from Mom 2, and you'd be like, oh, me too. And since it sounds like we are doing a sales pitch for Mom 2, and we do this all the time. There are actually tickets open. The next location is going to be in Nashville.
I know.
So,
Did you get your tickets yet?
oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm
I
cheap.
have. I need to. I need to. I think today's the last day.
Yeah, you better get them.
Yeah. By the time this episode is out, it'll be too late.
Sorry, y'all.
But
still
for
come.
anyone who did get their tickets by I think it's by the end of day, Mother's Day, maybe. It's the best deal I've ever seen on a Mom 2.0 ticket. Like when they flashed the price up, I was like, well,
we should probably share it in the
extra
group
hold.
just in case there's people who are interested.
Yeah, I think I will. We will have, by the time you hear this, shared it in our group because it's a great deal.
Yeah.
You can't not buy one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Right.
I would say it was so nice to meet you, but we already met you. So it's so nice to meet you twice this week.
Yes.
And
Good
so
to
grateful
see
for
you.
all you are doing for moms in your
you.
community. I mean, that's what it's all about, is the building that connection, helping to support them with information and just support them just with community. So thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for having me and for allowing me to share my journey and my truth. And thank you for what you're doing with the podcast. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have
Happy
a great week.
Mother's Day and have a good
happy
weekend.
Mother's Day. Oh, yeah, this is a
Yes.
spin. Yes.
Happy
Mother's
Mother's
Day
Day.
weekend. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the AND spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.